Hi, everybody. Master Toby Milroy here again, publisher for Martial Arts World News Magazine. And thanks so much for watching Martial Arts Business Innovations. It really does help us out a lot if you click like and subscribe and maybe even hit the bell notification icon on your screen right now. It does help sort of goose the YouTube and the Facebook algorithm and help this video reach more school operators who we might be able to help. So please go ahead and like and subscribe and do all that stuff. Hit the notification bell so that you get notified anytime we post new content. We're really working hard to speak with some of the most successful school operators in the world and bring you some of the biggest innovations in running your martial arts business. So thanks so much. Hit the notification and bell icon and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to Martial Arts Industry Innovations, presented by Martial Arts World News Magazine. Here, you'll get the latest news and information about the martial arts industry and discover the latest tools, tactics, innovations, business systems, teaching strategies, and much more to help you grow your school, career, or martial arts business. You'll also hear from some of the most successful school owners, innovators, instructors, industry influencers, and thought leaders in the world, sharing proven strategies and solutions to take your martial arts school or business to new heights. Join our mission at Martial Arts World News Magazine to raise the standards of martial arts business professionalism throughout the world.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Master Toby Milroy here, and thanks so much for taking this time out of your day to work on your business, not just in your business. Today we're joined with a couple of special guests. Our Executive Director, Sean Lee, is here, and Master Mimi Hwang. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Thanks for making it. We've got lots going on over there. We've got the little one handy and a couple of others that just got home. So, it's busy days, right?
Yes, sir.
Indeed. So we have lots to talk about today. But Mimi Hwang is on our show for a bunch of reasons today. One is that she's sort of one of the folks that we've discussed over the last few weeks who's sort of a second generation owner, so to speak, meaning the family founded the school and now we have a second generation of ownership, taking more and more responsibility and roles in the school. And that's an interesting trend that's been happening in the industry for obviously a number of years. And we're seeing all sorts of interesting innovations come from that and new insights and things that are really interesting to talk about. So thanks so much for taking time today and managing the little ones and all of that sort of stuff. Not so easy, huh?
No, not at all. I wouldn't change it for the world.
I think you have to say that. I'm pretty sure there's a rule, right? Anyway, so why don't you start us off from kind of the beginning? Let's get a little bit into let's talk about the schools first. Let's talk about the school's background, your family, how they got started and founded here in the United States, and what that all looks like now.
So my father, Grandmaster Jung-Oh Hwang, won the silver medal in the Los Angeles Olympics in judo in 1984. And so from there, he had the opportunity to study in the States, and he was able to get his master's in physical education at University of Tennessee, Martin. And so from there, he started his own school and grew that. We moved to Paducah, Kentucky, and then in 1997, we ended up here in Louisville, Kentucky, and so we've been here ever since. It started with one school and then it grew and then turned into two, and then we turned it into three. At some point, we had four, but we now operate 3 locations here in Louisville.
Yeah, wow. And what country was representing? The United States or
South Korea?
Yeah, so representing Korea. So he had not immigrated yet to the United States.
No.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So in judo, nonetheless.
Yes.
Judo pretty popular in Korea at the time?
I think so. But I mean, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah,
but
it was one of the earlier Olympic sports. Like judo really had kind of an Olympic heyday in about that time. Not so much, not as popular now, but it had sort of its Olympic big push at that time. So it kind of makes sense.
Maybe it's all thanks to him.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Judo was not really popular for the public people, like just regular people, daily people. But definitely Korea was really good at it.
Yeah.
The Korean judo was really, they were having a good time until like from the Grandmaster Hwang's era till like maybe late 90s, early 2000.
Yeah. Is that right?
Many like Olympic medal came out from the Korea, South Korea. So
Yeah, these
they were good
days
at it.
different countries, and then I think there was a female judo player from Ohio that had won gold a few years ago. Years ago.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, there's a whole interesting judo backstory that we're hoping Taekwondo can avoid some of the pitfalls there, but the jury's still out a little bit on the judo on the Olympic side of the fence anyway. So that gets the schools founded up to 3 locations in the Kentucky area, and then obviously things evolve and especially with family operated businesses, you now have a new generation, right? So when did you sort of think that that martial arts was going to be the career that you were going to have, and then how did that transition into both instructorship and ownership in the locations?
Oh gosh, well, I literally lived, breathed, and ate Taekwondo growing up. I did not do anything else. Typical, probably second gen story. Did not go to prom because prom was on Friday nights, and that was during our demo practice, so did not get to go and do that. But I mean, I grew up doing it. My parents would take me to the AMS seminars when I was in middle school, all the way through high school. And then I went out to college at San Jose State University in the Bay Area, and then graduated. And then I was kind of like, I think I've known that I've always wanted to run a school. It's just something that I'm really passionate about. And I love all the different aspects of like what happens in a Taekwondo school, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I moved back fully in 2009. And that's where I really kind of stepped foot into like a full-time role. And I've been doing that ever since.
So 9, so 15-ish, 20 some, almost 16 years, something like that.
Oh yeah, geez, if you actually add that up, really.
Yeah. I need to stop doing that. It's bad habit.
Yes, please.
Yeah, bad habit. Yeah, good call. And so now you've got 4 children.
Yes.
With the littlest one next to us. That's hysterical. Only a couple of months old. That's fantastic. And so what does the sort of family affair at the schools look like, nowadays?
As far as like my parents and I and my kids?
Yep, you, them, and everybody, yeah.
Yeah, they are fully immersed in it. They attend the all-day camps. They go to the location that my dad is at, so they're definitely getting the Grandmaster Hwang training, except like way softer. I guess things change when you're like a grandpa, because I'm like, man, I had to do like 1,000 push-ups, heads down, like all this, and then I see him teaching my kids, and it's way softer. But I'm hoping that I too can really kind of cultivate that. Both my children love it, and then my youngest one is 2, and she'll be 3 in March, and so she's very much sees just going in every day and seeing her brother and sister do it. And so my hope is that they love it, and that that this is something that is going to be a part of their lives too.
Yeah, a third generation. Yeah. So we've gotten the school from like a business standpoint and from a growth and operational standpoint. You've got 3 locations, and you guys have done one of the things that we talk a lot about and teach a lot about with our clients and customers who are in larger schools or who have schools that have multi-school opportunities. So you've got 3 locations, so we have a lot of multi-school topics to talk about, but also you've taken a path into owning the real estate that the schools are operating out of, which is one of the sort of, we call them kind of like the 3 paths to real wealth, right? One is owning the real estate. So walk me through that process. When did you start acquiring these buildings, and what does that look like today?
So my parents leased for many, many years. And then I want to say that throughout all the people that they met, they also realized that the best way to grow wealth is through real estate. And so they had acquired some land, and they actually built from the ground up for our first location.
Wow.
So I can't remember exactly what year that was, but once they kind of did that, that was the one in J-Town. That was the very first location that we were in. And then the second location was the same. My dad like literally knocked on the person's house and asked them if they would sell the home. And so they also, now that one is our biggest flagship school. And that one was built from the ground up, and that was in 2005. And then the third location was an already established like furniture store that had gone out of business, and they purchased that as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's really from the ground up. That's really jumping in with both feet, isn't it? That's
It
no joke.
really was. I was not like I was not involved in that by any means, but just through the plans, the drawings, and then I also do real estate personally now, and I'm an agent, and so kind of like walking through that with some of my clients. It takes a long process from the zoning to the drawings, the development plan. You got to get so many things approved from the city, and then building it.
Yeah, and then try to open a business. I mean,
Yes.
it to me, I think the psychological bottlenecks come in learning curves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And usually when imagine, first generation, immigrant to the United States, look at the learning curve, right?
Yes.
Then you've got a social learning curve. And then you have like an entrepreneurial learning curve, and we all have to go through that anyway, right? It doesn't matter. We aren't born
Yes.
business owners, right? This is how it works.
Very
So
true.
look at what you have to learn. You have to learn about permitting and licensing and all these other things, taxes, accounting, all these things that you have to have at least some familiarity with, right?
Yes.
We don't want to do any of them, but you have to learn a little bit about it. And now you layer on top of that, oh, by the way, we're not only going to acquire the property, we're going to actually start from zero and buy dirt and figure
Yes.
out what to do next. I mean, that takes some pretty. That's not a joke, right?
It really does. And then, our 2-story building, that involves tenants. So that's a whole different beast when you're dealing with leasing with tenants and all the things that entail having tenants too.
Yeah. So to clarify that, in one location, let's call it a strip center, right? So you have retail locations that you're leasing to other tenants, and then you guys acquire, reside in the larger
On the
part.
top floor.
Yeah. So again, now you're learning how to be a landlord. So again,
Yes.
right? Another learning curve yet again, right?
Exactly. And there's definitely been expensive mistakes along the way. And, if there's somebody that can kind of provide some shortcut ways, then I would definitely try to take as many notes as possible, because through other people's mistakes, you can really save a ton of money and a lot of headache.
Yeah, having the confidence to take the leap in the first place is the highest order, right? But then
Yes.
after that, it is about optimization, and there are an awful lot of pitfalls when it comes to acquiring property. We've helped. Well, here at AMS, I don't know what the numbers are, dozens at least.
Okay.
In my previous careers, we helped folks buy distressed properties.
Wow.
All sorts of different options, and this was in the '08 crash. A fair amount of opportunity happened there. So
Whoever bought then is winning.
yeah, I mean, yes, there was some insane things that happened, right? But this is a stressful thing, and a lot of mistakes that are made are pretty expensive.
It is. And, I tell people all the time, don't believe what TikTok says about how easy it can be, because there's no easy way to make money.
Yeah.
And within real estate, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those areas where, done well, it is one of those sort of paths, one of those kind of three main paths to wealth.
I
think you guys are a great example of that. So there's definitely there's some lessons buried in there that we should reveal at some stage here too.
There are two kinds of people in the world, the learned and the learner. The learned are done learning and cannot see any more to gain. The learner continues to learn and grows exponentially. Martial Arts Business Institute is a place where learners come to grow.
As I started working with Harry and Friends, boy, my complete 180, much better than I could deliver just by myself. Much better content.
Well, Harry is a godsend. Harry is like a virtual staff member.
The kids are just more excited. When it's time to do the mat chat, a lot of times it used to be verbal, but now we have the visual.
Right.
And they can relate to this guy.
We have been a long-time Harry and Friends customer with our little ninjas going on, we think, around 10 years now.
Awesome. How many schools do you guys have that are using Harry and Friends? 5 schools. Excellent. And how do the kids react? How do the parents react?
They love it.
Harry is a big part of our We Warriors program. Kids love him. They will do things that he says that won't do if we tell them to, and they definitely won't do it if their parents tell them to. Makes the parents a little jealous, but they love him too. Check it out, guys. You got to do Harry and Friends.
Okay, everybody. Where is Harry today? It's great. At Martial Arts.
Check out the latest issue of Martial Arts World News Magazine, the industry trade journal for martial arts school owners and instructors at mawnews.com. And now, back to our show.
Having said that, those 3 locations, you're also implementing after-school programs. In fact, one location is a fully licensed childcare center. Walk me through that. Where did that start, and what's sort of your current experience with running these after-school programs?
I want to say we started, so we've been doing after-school care through AMS. I think we were one of the first people to do it when it launched way back in 2002. And so we used to have like 120 kids at one center in a summer. And that was kind of really when the peak of like after school summer camp had started. Granted, there was a lot less competition back then than there is today. But one of the centers that we have, a lot of parents really wanted to take advantage of the program, but because of the demographics, it just really made sense to become a certified child care center. And I think I got that back in 2000, and I want to say it was 18 or 19 is when we started that. And it's been great. There's a lot of paperwork. There's regulations that come with that. But we do it very leanly and as efficiently as possible so that the program can grow and be where it is today.
What do you think the largest regulatory hurdles have been so far? This is again. Keep in mind for frames purposes for folks who are listening. The one we're describing now is actually the fully licensed child care center, so a little different than typically after school. But
probably all of the smallest detail regulations per the state that you have to meet, and it's great that there's I guess a template of like the things that you're supposed to do as a licensed child care center. But it's just the smallest minute things. And so you can get an inspection at any given time. They don't give you any warning. And then they go through everything, all your employee files, your transportation logs, fire drills, earthquake drills. I mean, everything and anything under the sun. Like even making sure you have hand soap in the emergency bag in the school bus.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah. Does Kentucky have the outdoor kind of playground requirement as well, or how do you do that?
Our center, we used it for the inside. So the matted space is kind of our outdoor space because the location that we're in does not. There was just no way to be able to put an outdoor space in there.
Yeah. Some states that tends to be a bit of an issue, right? Florida, I think, is one of them where, if you're in a strip center or something like that, well, how do you? Exactly. How does that work? Got to figure out. Yeah, interesting enough. Interesting. So the that's interesting. And so you're dealing with very large after-school programs, very large summer camps, and then you've got the child care facility as well. A fair number of our higher level clients who run large, a few that have licensed child care centers. One angle that's been interesting. We haven't discussed it. We haven't talked about it yet. But one angle that's interesting is even with state funding or state funding usually, there always is still an opportunity for upgrades. And so one example is a good friend of ours runs a licensed childcare facility and an after-school program, and they offer things like immersion foreign languages after their program. So they do the immersion Chinese and immersion Spanish. They do computer science. They do all sorts of sort of higher level options to the program where oftentimes if you're, let's not say dependent, but let's say you're comfortable with state funding, that limits your ability to charge tuition as well.
Right.
Because now you've got that fixed amount of tuition you're going to get for the current student. But there's all sorts of opportunity for other layer programs. We may want to discuss that. But there's definitely some interesting opportunity for anybody who's in that arena as you guys are. Something to be thoughtful about.
Great.
So
Absolutely.
Definitely one of those areas that
Somebody's always thinking about something.
Yeah.
Always,
right.
always new, always innovative. I love it.
There's always something going on. Interesting enough. Okay, so with 3 locations operating with 800 students or so, something like that. Rough paper napkin math or something like that. What do you think if you look back over the years? What do you think some of the biggest successes have been?
Oh, over the years, surviving the pandemic.
No joke, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. Luckily, we were able to really pivot and adapt and still hold classes over Zoom. So I feel like that was it was probably the hardest first initial like 4 weeks, then 8 weeks, then 12 weeks, then like I think a year. So I feel like that was a big success over the years. We also kind of bounced back, and like we didn't do our championship that we have. We didn't do that for a few years. I want to say it was maybe 2 or 3, 19, 20. So 4 years we didn't have a championship. And so we brought that back last year, and that was a huge success. We were definitely a little rusty from not being able to do it, but we were able to pull it off, and it went off fantastic, and we got a ton of positive feedback. So I'm really proud of that. And then I probably bringing out the nonprofit, I think, was another big success that kind of came out over the last few years.
Well, let's get into that. So talk to us about the championship. So you have this large tournament, right? Walk us through where that started and what that looks like.
Oh goodness, it started long time ago. When I started to kind of get a little bit more involved at that point, my dad, Grandmaster Hwang, he has a team called the Horseman Team, and it consists of different aspects of planning an event, right? So that is not an easy thing to do, and all the details and things that come with that. And so you really need to have a good team. And so we call them our Horseman Team, and they're handpicked by him. And so they typically meet every Saturday for almost a year to plan one event. The other event that we have is a big charity event that we have in the spring. And so we used to do paper registrations, and now we've gone mostly fully through online. So that was a big shift. And so we have competitors that come from all over the world. We've had I think this year we're having competitors from Bolivia. I know we've tried for Cuba a few years, China, South Korea, Alaska, Ohio, and then our HMA student bodies. So we get over 800 competitors and well over 2,000 spectators for our championship. And we rent out a big hall in the convention center. We were all talking, and, my dad was saying, well, maybe we should just rent out a gym, and all the horsemen were like, absolutely not. We can do it, sir. We're going to go big. There's nothing small that we do at Hwang's Martial Arts. So rather than being in like a 1,200 square foot gym, we're renting 60,000 square feet.
Ballroom, yeah. Insanity, right?
Stadium.
It's fantastic. So, and what's the purpose, by the way? So how does the 501c3? So you also operate a charity, a 501c3 charity.
Yes.
And there's some interplay there, right, between the entities. How does that all work?
So, for years since we've opened the schools, we've always given back, and it's been a big part of what we do, along with probably a lot of school owners. But we were finding that year after year, we were raising $50,000, $60,000 for these nonprofit organizations. And we were like, well, this is great. It gives us instant credibility being able to partner with a well-known name, but where is the money really going? And just kind of having a little bit more transparency is what we really wanted. And so we created a 501c3, and it's interesting because we just had our charity event last year for the first time since COVID. And, we were really worried because we were like, well, our foundation is new. It's called the Jung Hwang Legacy Foundation. And we were like, I don't know if people are going to stand behind it because it's not the local children's hospital. It's not the Kentucky Humane Society with pets. Could we raise the money? And so our goal was, I think 30,000 or something like that. And we broke the record and raised over $43,000. And it was amazing. And then I want to say it was very similar. This past year was the same. We were like, okay, well, 40,000 is our goal. And we surpassed 50,000. So, people really like to stand behind things they believe in. And they really believe in the Wong's martial arts program side. And so, it's really been eye-opening to see that maybe just because you're just starting, if they really believe in your vision and the established relationship that we have through Hwang's martial arts, that you can really, really do a lot more impact, I think, by having that foundation. It was not easy to get it, and there's a lot of regulations that also come with that too. But we've got a fairly good team that is on that, and so we've been able to award scholarships through the foundation. We are able to make donations to our local children's hospital too, but it's just through the foundation now instead of through the for-profit business.
Yeah, I sit for two, used to be three, but now two nonprofits. So the regulatory leaps, trust me, I feel you, right? This is, I understand.
We love regulation here.
Sitting on the board, it was, hey, we have a board seat. Here's what we want you to do. You get on 2 calls a year. Well, no.
No, there's usually a monetary amount that you have to do too.
Which, by the way, so how are you, look, I know that there are other school operators who have altruistic and who have desires to want to contribute to things that are sometimes, again, less that are more opaque, right? So when you look at something like I don't want to name any, but when you look at a charity that's on television or whatever the case is, or even something that's local, you just don't, like you said, you don't know. You just don't know where the money goes. There's a Charity Monitor website that usually does a decent job, but that's only if they report to that, and there's some issues there. But so how are you? So this might be useful information or useful advice for them. What sort of strategies were you using to sort of raise funds? Were you selling product? Were you selling memberships? How were you kind of raising money in this arena?
So our big annual charity event that we have in the spring. So we have 2 big events. One's in the spring, one's in the fall. What we do is we host like a exhibition is what we used to call it. And the students all donate money through ticket sales. A big thing that I feel like has really, really helped is, so back in the day, I love talking about back in the day, but back in the day, my dad used to sell like paper tickets. And so that would only get you so much, right? And so through technology, we were able to create online fundraising platforms. And there's a ton of websites out there that don't charge too much. I mean, there's definitely still some fees that come with that. But the online donations has just been astronomical. It's been amazing because you can ask grandma that lives in Kansas to donate to your page, and you don't have to worry. And, they can do it super quick. So through online donations, we've been able to raise, usually the tickets are like $5, but we incentivize our students. And this past year we did a Wave Master just to kind of keep it with the martial arts theme, and Grandmaster with Grandmaster's signature. So it was a one of a kind. And oh my gosh, you should have seen there were 3 students. And up until we said that the deadline was 11:59 p.m. the night before, but literally up until 11:59, they were still finding donations. And they raised over like $1,500. I mean, it was truly amazing. And so we've done that. We brought in silent auction, and so that brings about $3,000 to $5,000. We did some fundraisers. We did like a thing called Double Good Popcorn. It's already packaged, pre-popped popcorn, and you'd think that $13 for a bag of popcorn wouldn't do well. But man, I was a negative Nancy. I was like, nobody's gonna want to eat popcorn, but it did fantastic. I think we brought in like $5,000 just off that.
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of like a cumulative effort.
Yeah.
And then the day of the event, we're out there. I'm one of the MCs, and we the platform that we use, you can we have a big screen, and you can start like announcing, oh, $500 from grandma saying, we love you, Johnny, and so we'll announce that, and people will just, they'll just donate and donate on that just to kind of see their name on the screen and it popping up like that. And so that's really like kind of what went over. Corporate sponsorships was a big thing. We've got some really loyal sponsorships that believe in our mission, and they graciously donate year after year. I mean, I could go on, but
I think it's good. I think the biggest leap is this, right? I think there's two things. I think one is for some folks, I think an awful lot of people have aspirations to do some of the things that you're describing, right? Especially when it comes to supporting local charities or child-related charities, things that are kind of on a similar mission. Yeah. But I think there are two big obstacles. I think number one is there's an obstacle of, just some people need to know all the details. All the lights have to be green all the way across town before they go through the first intersection, right? It's like they want to know every single little detail before they take the first step. That's the wrong way to think about the world, right?
Right.
But the other thing is, well, where do you even start, right? And I think this is a good place to start. So you created this event that became sort of the seminal component of this, and then around that event, you build these other elements. So, we're selling some retail, some popcorn. Popcorn's irrelevant. It's an excuse to go ask somebody, right? Yeah. Pizza's irrelevant. The candy bar is irrelevant. That's not the point. The point is, it gives them excuse. It gives them a reason to do it, and some justifiable. Now doing it all digitally is brilliant, because now, again, like you said, you can have grandma in Alaska donate.
Yes,
hard
absolutely.
to do that by mail or by by anything else. So I like it. It's fantastic, right? So I think it gives people at least a good place to start. So yes. I think they'll appreciate that. I think that's pretty useful. Very cool. So that's awesome. So this championship is a really big deal. What's the charity event called, by the way? Is there a name for it?
It's evolved so many.
Sure.
It was exhibition for a long time. Then we turned it into Louisville Health Kick, and then we did extravaganza. And,
sure, yeah.
Everything and anything we've done. But then we were just like, let's just keep it simple and just call it. Well, it's not really that simple. It's long, but it's the Jung Hwang Legacy Foundation Spring Charity Event.
Love it. The event. Yeah, the event. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, done deal. Yeah, there you go. I love it. Very cool. So, this is a big deal. And I think people, serving the communities that we operate in is a big deal. And walk me through one more thing. You said you had some corporate sponsorships. What type of companies should I consider if I'm looking at doing something like this?
So again, like so we've been around Louisville a really, really long time, since 1997. So there's certain relationships that we have formed. And so because we do own a lot of the real estate and other real estate investments, there's certain banks that we use. Yeah. And so, we really try to utilize the relationships with our bank. And so many times they'll donate $2,500 from a bank that we have, our local bank here. Let's see, HVAC. So there's a local HVAC plumbing company that we have, and I also use them personally for my investments. And so I was like, hey, I am a loyal customer, and I'd really love it if your company sponsored us. And, he's never sponsored before, but this year he was like, you know what, I'm going to sponsor another $2,500. We also have some students that own businesses as well, and they are our top sponsors, and we're very, very gracious with their donations. And so they will bring in like $5,000 each. And then we've got some bronze, like dentists, restaurants. Some restaurants will do it. Any service type industry that you also frequent and patronize, I ask.
It's an easy ask, right? Yeah.
Yes. My CPA, every year I'm like, hey, can you sponsor? No. Okay, well, would you consider donating $200? And they'll do it. So just kind of utilizing the network around you and the people that you go to, your hairstylist. I mean, those are the people that will say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I see value in some of these sponsorships, or if they need a tax write-off, it's 100% tax deductible. And so they'll do a few hundred or even $100 or $50 or $20, whatever it is. We'll go out and ask.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the lesson, by the way. That is the lesson, which is, the answer to every question you never ask is no. Or you don't ask is no.
You know what I tell my kids?
Say it again.
Do you know what I tell my kids?
Tell me.
I tell them closed mouths don't get fed.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And so you just and I'm like, the worst they can say is no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just try. Do it.
Yeah, the list, by the way, it's interestingly how similar the list is. When you look at okay, let's say for example, no is the answer. Let's say that's the case, right? Let's say the bank, your local bank that you have a lot of, maybe some leverage with, right? Doesn't matter. You're not going to pull your accounts or anything. That's not the point. The point is you have a relationship, right? You have somebody to talk to. Well, even if they aren't able to do anything, well, hey, would you consider maybe putting the display up here in the lobby, and this will be an area where we can market the thing and we can show people that it's there and they can come to us, or whatever the case is. We do a toy drive, a school supply drive and a toy drive every year,
right?
Sort of as two different things, and the local banks are enormous supporters of that type of a thing because they have every day 150 people walk through the lobby, right? So I mean,
right.
It's a great those types of things. So anyway, that's the right list, and I think it's the right attitude too. I think it's something that people just get themselves all twisted up and they're not sure where to start and they're afraid to ask, and nothing beats somebody you already have a minor relationship with tapping them on the shoulder and say, hey, by the way, what do you think about this?
It's true. And and we've got a formal letter, but honestly, a lot of the times for the people now that we do, we just text and we're like, hey, will you donate? And they just say yes. So
it's time again. Yeah, it's time this year.
And
yeah,
relationships are key. So if you're not going out there and at least just somewhat having some sort of open communication, I would recommend just doing that.
Yeah, 100%. This is not send a blast email and expect you're going to get a bunch of money shipped to you.
Exactly.
This is tap people on the shoulder and say, hey, here's what we're doing.
Yes.
I mean, come on, this is not.
I know. And that's what technology and COVID has kind of really made it a little harder to even establish face-to-face relationships or even a phone call relationship. And so people really like that. People really like it.
Yeah. It's exactly the right list. I think it's a great lesson for everybody because it's not any different in any area around the country. It just isn't.
Yes, I agree.
Look at your student body. What percentage of your student body are self-employed or managers or executives at some business in your area? You have built-in relationships. It's the same argument, by the way, for schools that struggle penetrating like local elementary schools or daycare centers and things like this. Well, every one of your students has an elementary school teacher, and every one of every one of your students has a parent in the school or a grandparent in the school who can walk you in by the hand and introduce you. This isn't rocket science. This is simple human relationships, right?
Exactly. Right. And certain schools, and we've done that too, and we've been through 30 elementary schools. At one point we were teaching the PE classes there, but it definitely helps you being around a long time, because you kind of have if you do things right and you have a good reputation, they're not going to have their guards up as much. Yeah. Now, are there schools that have their guards up because they see Hwang's this is Mimi from Hwang's Martial Arts. Immediately the schools that are red flagged, Yeah. And so what we were thinking about doing in the future is to kind of utilize more of our nonprofit, and finding that would be a much easier quote unquote sell to get into these schools because it's a nonprofit.
Sure.
But we haven't ventured out that yet. Coming soon. Hopefully I can find some.
No, I think very, very smart. In fact, we should maybe talk about that offline. It's very smart. In fact, one of the angles that we take is we do it as a fundraiser for the school.
Yes.
So even
yes,
better.
Yes.
Even easier. But yeah, definitely areas there that This is no different, right? Yeah, I like it.
Do you feel like you're getting crushed under the tremendous weight of managing your martial arts school? Crawl out from beneath the burden and reach your potential. Lighten the load and let Atlas Martial Arts Software do the heavy lifting. Visit tryatlassoftware.com to see for yourself and get 7 free gifts valued at over $400.
Hey son, let's do something different this weekend. How about we take in a museum?
Yeah, that sounds good.
We could learn about the samurai. Yeah! Or how about the Hawaiian Lua warriors? Ooh, the mighty sumo! Hey, how about the Martial Arts History Museum? That way we can learn about them all.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Stay informed while on the go with daily news in the Martial Arts World News Magazine mobile app for Apple and Android devices. Find us in your app store. And now, back to our show.
Obviously, over the years, you've overcome some challenges. Obviously, I'm sure COVID was, we talked about that already. What do you think were some of the, if I'm a newer school owner or if I have been in the business for a while, what are some of the challenges that you guys have overcome that you think there's some lessons to be learned there?
Oh, goodness. So many challenges.
What day is it, right?
Yeah. I'm due for a call here soon saying something's gone wrong. Some challenges. Well, I know, and we still struggle with it now, is just finding staff. I know that that's kind of like a nationwide thing across everywhere. But, the process is extremely slow, and I don't feel like it was as quote unquote easy to find staff as it was back just a few years ago. A lot of times you would find a parent that could do some work or needed part-time work, but these days it just really seems like nobody wants to work at all. And so that's kind of been a challenge. We've been pretty fortunate, just kind of like, again, using like the networks of our parents, and they've got, now they're the parents that we have sometimes have students or kids that are older aged. And so, especially for like the childcare portion, it's so important to hire the right people. I mean, anywhere really, but when you're working with children, that's high liability there. And so we want to make sure that we're finding the right staff. So that's kind of been a challenge that we are still somewhat overcoming and facing. We don't really have to worry about increase in rent because we don't have to worry about that as much. But for somebody new that's kind of coming in, I can see how, in today's market, I don't know if it's like that anywhere else, but here in Louisville, high rent, there's just an exponential high rent increase in all of the retail that I have seen. And so I can see that kind of being a challenge. What are some other challenges? Working with your parents. That's a challenge in itself.
No joke. Yeah.
That is not a joke. It is, we have not overcome that yet, and we still navigate through that. But it's gotten a lot better over the last few years than what it was previous to that. And just really kind of shifting from, and again, working with first generations, is really kind of shifting the paper trail to technology. And that's something that we're still trying to overcome.
Yeah. No, well, and it's not an uncommon look. Technology moves very fast, and integrating solutions is not easy. And you've got a lot of duct tape. You've got a lot of duct tape holding systems together. And it used to be, one could argue that it was easier when everything was manual because you didn't have to get five different systems to talk to each other. But at the same time, I may not have had a system at all. So, it's a bit of a lose-lose there. But yeah, interesting enough. So what would you say over the years have been sort of the most successful like marketing strategies that you've deployed in the schools, if you had to guess?
Well, so again, that comes with just building those relationship with those schools, we are able to distribute flyers. And so having like a really good marketing piece. So my parents use like the same 1980, not 1980, maybe like 1995 ads. And, like we revamped it and it did wonders. Like parents seeing the same flyers over and over and over again. Now that I'm a parent, I know what I just really kind of get blinded to. And it's really like the same ad that you see. You just really become kind of immune to it.
Sure. Yeah.
And so we changed up that, and that really did, that we got a lot of calls and responses back from that. Being in those PE classes and building the rapport. And so, like, when the principals and the teachers, when they truly can see what it's doing for the kids and helping those kids, they are definitely they're your biggest advocates, really.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I hold him just really quick? Sorry.
Hi.
Another thing that I feel like does really well, we get a lot of referrals from therapists.
Yeah.
And so that's been, and we don't even market, I guess that's kind of word of mouth reputation type of, but websites, we're usually active on our social media. Unfortunately, I am like aging out of like being a hip, cool person. And now I've got staff that are like, have you thought about opening up your TikTok account? And I'm like, no. So we're going to venture out and try this whole TikTok thing. And I was like, if it's not during the times of you watching the kids and you want to create content, then absolutely. I don't want to do the videos, but if you all want to and you can create some things, great. Birthday parties are still a huge thing. Another thing that we did was partner with the library. And so during the summer reading, we provide a coupon for 2 classes, and that's brought a lot of really, really great students in from that. So like if you do your reading for the summer and you read your 10 books, then the library gives you like a backpack and some coupons. And so we were able to get in that, and that's been great. Community events, really going out there and shaking people's hands and having them, you being a personable person again, face to face, I think it just speaks wonders. And if you provide a great experience to these people that are interested in the program, and you really kind of connect with the kid, whether you're teaching them a high block or a punch or give them a tattoo, it may not be instant, but when they're looking for something, or if somebody asks on Facebook in the mommy groups and they say, hey, my kid wants to try martial arts, hopefully they're saying, hey, have you checked out Hwang's martial arts? And I see a lot of people commenting on Hwang saying, hey, have you checked out Hwang's? So those are some of the marketing things that have worked for us.
Yeah, perfect. I think it's right. You've got to have the digital stuff as the destination, but it's driving the traffic to the digital stuff is almost always the most effective when you're out in the community. When you're doing things with, whether it's the elementary schools or community groups or whatever the case is, there is no amount of money you could throw at Facebook to get that many highly qualified leads in your local area.
And I've done that. I have spent $2,000 a month per location thinking, oh, I'm going to get all these leads. You get good amounts of leads, but out of like the 50 leads, maybe one is actually truly like serious.
Yeah.
So
it's interruption marketing versus relationship marketing.
Yes. And they're great, and it builds, any type of advertising is good for you, but at the same time, it's like, well, how much are you spending when you could do something for that $2,000 a month? If you did a pizza party or something for your students and spent $50 to $100 on pizza, you're doing face-to-face interaction. And to me, that was worth way more than me spending all this money on digital ads, when, not that it's a bad thing. I think it's good.
Totally. Yeah.
But, you got to look at everything. You got to look at your bottom line, how much it's costing you to even collect that one lead. And does that lead convert and if you've got the money to be able to do it. I mean, there's just so much that comes into that.
Yeah, there's only one factor. It's ROI, right? What's the ROI?
Yes.
The return on ad spend? If I'm spending $2,000, I get a student, and a student's worth $6,000. Well, yes, I will do that. I will do that. But if I could also put that $2,000 somewhere else and turn it into 10 students, I'll do that first. Right? That's all.
100%.
That's all.
Or just really a mix of everything.
Yeah, this is pretty simple math. Yeah. Well, good. Sean, anything on your list that we should talk about?
No, not at this moment. Actually, I wanted to ask you about that Toby just asked you about any advice for new school owners, because since pandemic, 2000, 2001, many school owners, they had to, close their business, but things are getting better now. They are coming up for, they are trying to reopen their own business, but many school owners, future school owners, they're hesitating to open the new school because they had some sort of failure, even it was not their fault. So they are looking for now. Okay, so everything got changed. So do I still look for a better location? What it used to be, we used to say location.
Right.
But is it still same thing, or should I go for rent smaller place, a bigger place, but a little bit outside of a town? But if you can market through the social media or digitally, you can find the people. I know, but it all depends on the area, where you located. But from those, you went through those things. So what's your advice for still people talk about the location? What will be the standard or main, I would say decision point that when you have to choose the locations?
That's interesting. It's so there's so many levels and layers of questioning before even giving somebody advice, right? And so just based off of my experience and being a real estate agent too for other commercial tenants that look for space, there's a reason why the hottest location, the most visible location costs more money a month, right? Because they know that there's advertising dollars. It's advertising for your business. If you're on the main road at the busiest intersection, when we purchase real estate or want to buy a strip center, it's always very location based. So if it's behind 3 buildings, obviously price is going to be way less than what you would get in the front. But when you're looking for a tenant, how much are you going to get per square foot by being behind 3 buildings versus being on the main road? And those are things to consider. I know this is kind of going all over the place, but
that's right though. I haven't tried.
If you're a beginner and you're seeing this, it probably won't make a lot of sense. But if you're starting off and you can afford it and you kind of do the math, and I always say that you should be in maybe not the best, because the best location is going to cost a lot of money, right? But you can also probably charge more. But if you're starting off and you're hesitant and you're nervous about things, then do you want to be in an industrial park? Now, I know a lot of places and a few martial arts schools here in town that do a great job, and they're in an industrial park. They don't even have a sign. There's no way that you could even find it if you were driving around. They do a great job, but again, we are on the main intersections, and we're in very, very highly visible locations, and that alone has provided marketing dollars, advertising dollars that just are instant. And so I think location still plays a high factor in success of a school. Now, if you have been around, maybe if you've been around a long time, and you move to another location, maybe you could make it work, but then trying to attract new people is probably hard too. And so I would say 100% location is still extremely important. Yeah. And, a restaurant is different. It's a different industry, but, you don't want to eat at a restaurant that's like, sometimes, yes, you find those hidden gems where the location is crap, the interior is crap, but the food's delicious and people will like seek that out. But for martial arts instruction and for like a child care center, like, you want to make sure that you're a professional. This is not, you're trying not to be like a, garage school charging, street front retail pricing. And so that stuff is really, really important. And so, yeah, I do think location is really important. That was like a really long-winded answer.
Well, I think it's right. I think the premise that you mentioned twice at least is really useful. Is if you look at all the F of X's, if you look at all the functions, the location is a function of marketing. And so if I pay $6,000 a month in rent, probably $3,500 of that or $2,500 of that I should just consider straight up marketing budget, right? So instead of spending $1,000, it used to be Yellow Pages, right? Instead of the $1,000 Yellow Page ad, I have the $500 Yellow Page ad, but I have the location in the main street street. Now, typically, LoopNet is a great tool for this. I'm not sure if there might be some commercial tools that are more useful nowadays, but LoopNet is typically a pretty good tool for like looking at commercial spaces. Usually, if one is dedicated, one can find the crease between Class A public strip center, right? Which in Florida, Publix is like the main, like the upscale grocery store, right?
Yes, we just got one here in Louisville.
Is that right? They're fantastic. I love it. They're fantastic. so the wherever there's a Publix, that's where I want to be, right? Mm-hmm. But I know for most schools that's not, that might not work for their economics. But across the street is okay. It's all right. True.
As long as it's on like the main road, and it's visible, then I say, or at an intersection with a light, where it's easy to get in and out, you can't go wrong there.
Yeah, traffic is critical. Yeah, it's a big deal. Yeah, very good. Well, awesome. Anything? Let me ask one last thing, if you wouldn't mind. I'd like to get everybody on record on this deal, which is it's interesting how many hyper successful people outside the martial arts and inside, but outside the martial arts, give martial arts a lot of credit for their path to success. When you look at people like, I don't know, Robert Downey Jr. is a good example. He gives, Wushu, I think, a lot of credit for turning his life around when he was, really struggling. And Brian Tracy is a black belt and has created a great speaking career. And Tony Robbins, and a lot of people who have built a lot of success. Give martial arts a lot of credit for showing them a path and teaching them some habits and things like that. How would you define that for yourself? If you had to, what do you think you experienced and learned and discovered through martial arts that has helped you sort of plot this path?
Gosh, it's, I guess for me, mine. My experience is different too, because my parents are also martial artists, but my dad was also an Olympic medalist. And so I have learned through them. My dad, he's 67 and he still goes in every day. Like, no is not an answer for him until he gets yes. He goes out on the roof and is like a handyman on the properties to save the $500 to use a roofing company. So like the work ethic I picked up is strictly through what I see as my role models, which were my parents, who really, my dad, his life changed 1,000,000% because he learned martial arts at a young age that led him to the Olympics. And not anybody can get to the Olympics. My God, like, I'm watching Olympics with my kids and I'm like, you only see the success of what you see. This is like 30 seconds of the hard work, the thousands of times that you have fallen. But they don't know that, they're spoiled. But through martial arts, having martial arts parents and the work ethic, and really that was like the foundation of really why I work. Like, I was still working up until I had my kids. I was working in bed before delivery. That's not good. That's not good. It's not good.
Not a recommendation.
But I just really have I just have such a work ethic that it's probably bad. A therapist would probably said that's not good, but um, the foundation is there from a strong work ethic. But then you add in the life skills of Taekwondo and all the different things that I've learned through my life. Um, Besides just the kicking and punching, that's all secondary. But the most important things through learning martial arts, again, work ethic, never giving up. I am not scared to go up and talk to anybody. And that's really hard to do, like being up and like doing public speaking and things like that I think is, I mean, my dad makes me do it all the time, so it's like second nature to me, but that is something that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do, is to go out and speak publicly like that. Um, Gosh, I mean, so much of it, community giving, like, you know, yes, there's a side of when martial arts school owners, you want to do these charitable efforts and also build brand awareness and all the other things that come with doing something good for the community. But with our foundation, being able to read um, the students, like their scholarship applications and what they had to do, and like knowing that our family and the students at Wong's that have given, knowing that we are helping somebody in our community, a college kid that's going through college now and may potentially change the world by thinking of something and doing something amazing in their life, really, really makes me so fortunate to be in this position with our family and where I'm at in my career. And so I don't know if that answered anything, but that's kind of that's kind of where all this is going. But yeah, I think martial arts. If we had martial arts, I really believe that if we had martial arts here in Louisville, we've got a big behavioral issue with like school buses and like no bus drivers want to drive kids around because of the lack of discipline. And I know that we all want to be um, I guess politically correct in a lot of the ways that we do, reprimand these kids, or there's somebody you don't want to make upset. But I really believe that a lot of this can be fixed if these kids are in a disciplined, positive outlet environment, community at a young age. And I really think that at least, maybe not all, I don't have statistics on it, but I really feel like if you can provide that to some of these kids um, in underprivileged areas, that we could really make such a positive impact. And community accountability, those are all really, really important. And I really feel like that martial arts could help with that. So maybe that's something in my future.
No, I totally agree. I think it's exactly right. I think without any social negativity at all, without a strong structure like that, you can't be successful. It's just like training a dog, for God's sakes. It's not either. You have to have a strong foundation, and I think what we do and what you guys do for students is a great example of that. And I think it does solve the problem for the overwhelming majority of human beings. We just have to get them exposed to it.
I know, that's the thing. And I don't know if it's like a political thing. I don't know if it's because the martial arts industry like doesn't have this like over one governing body like the NBA, the NFL, or something to really kind of say, hey, we all stand behind this, and we all just kind of say, or studies. I don't know what it is that we could do to make this change, because yes, I think therapy is important for children or for anybody really, but sometimes that's not it. Yes, maybe a supplement to that, but man, if you put in martial arts, I really think that a lot of the problems that you see with depression, anxiety could lessen. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything about any of that, but I can only base off of what I've seen in our students, what I've seen in the adult students and what it does to them. And so I don't know. I guess that's something that's a long-term haul that maybe you could help me with, Master Toby.
That's the mission. Well, I mean, truth be told, I mean, that is the mission, right? I mean, we have way, it's almost like Aliens, right? I hate to say it, but it's almost like Aliens. There's way too much anecdotal evidence to ignore it, right?
Yes.
We see the case studies every day, right? We see kids that, that come to you, that come to us, that, have severe focus disorders or emotional disturbances or whatever the case is. And we're not doctors either. But when you put the physical with the mental and you put it in a solid framework with a lot of discipline and build self-esteem, this solves a lot of behavioral issues. This solves a lot of performance problems. Yeah. Definitely.
How do we get there?
That is definitely I think we have to do it at the grassroots level right now. I don't think there's any other option. But it's got to be grassroots right now. I don't know, unless we can find, a political advocate.
Right.
I think that's the answer, but I don't. We've tried this a couple of times.
Oh, really?
But is that the game that you want to play? It becomes it's the old adage of all political maneuvering, which is if you don't have a seat at the table, you're very likely to be on the table. Right? So, so there we are. Well, Master Hwang, thanks so much for taking the time with us today. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Sean. Sean, thank you so much for putting this together. This is fantastic. I think we have a lot to talk about. I think we have a lot of areas where we can be helpful. But I think what you guys are doing is a great example for other schools to model and emulate. And there's some lessons in here, I think, that are pretty expensive to learn on your own. So I think it'll be a great value for our readers and for our listeners and our clients to discover without having to make those mistakes themselves. So thank you again so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We really appreciate your time. We'll speak again next time. Thanks, everybody.
This has been a Martial Arts Industry Innovations production, presented by Martial Arts World News Magazine.